So, Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to Callbox webinar entitled Not Your Grandma's Sales Cadence Selling in 2020. Before we get started, I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Rebecca. I'm in charge of sales and marketing here at Callbox, and I will be your host for today. And for today's presenter, we have Miss Charmaine Espanola, our creative director. She's been with the company since its inception in 2004. And now she's one of the reasons why Callbox is where it is right now. Just a very short introduction about our company. So we're Callbox. We've been around for almost 15 years now. We do multi-channel, multi-touch lead generation and lead qualification for our clients. So in a nutshell, we create our clients' list of prospects, and then we follow a lead gen cadence similar to what Charmaine is going to be discussing. So what we do is we contact them via calling, emailing, and connect with them via social media. We also follow them when they get inside their client's website via chat or probably sending out a or filling out a contact form for them. And then we send them back to our clients already ready for a sales call with their sales rep. We are present in US and Canada, and we are also um, we have a strong presence in Singapore and Australia. And so, yes, after this conversation, this webinar, we would really love to discuss a few things with you personally. Just a few reminders. All of our attendees right now are in listen only mode. So if you have any questions, please feel free to jot down your questions on the chat, then the questions box on your control panel. There's a chat box in there as well as a questions box in there. You can try it right now just to see if I can see your notes. You can chat anytime within the presentation, and then we will definitely answer all those questions after the presentation of Charmaine. Okay, I guess we are ready. Charmaine, I'll give it to you. Take it away.
Okay, everyone, thank you. First of all, thank you, Rebecca. I'd like to welcome everyone to the webinar, our first one for 2020. And I'd like to thank you all for taking time to join us this afternoon. I'm really excited to share a few things with you. We'll be talking about obviously the sales cadence, but probably not what you're used to, because definitely we are already in 2020, and marketing technology, they all we there's always something new. I will share with you this afternoon a few things that have worked for us in 2019, and a few things that we're definitely considering, and I hope that you should also consider for 2020. So let's start. All right. So I know everyone is it's probably not uh you know um not far-fetched to say that everyone in this webinar is familiar with the sales cadence. Now I'm sure this one right here in front of you is something that probably you've used for the longest time, or some iteration of it, and that definitely there's nothing wrong with it. It works. It's a cadence that has landed you and will continue to land you meetings. So it's a basic cadence of sending out email, then following up with a phone call probably on the same day within the afternoon, and then a few days later, maybe 2 days later, call again. And if the person isn't available, you can leave a voicemail. Another 2 days later, you can send a follow-up email, and then you keep going, email and call. Basically, it's a combination of emails and calls over a period of probably, let's say, 10 days or 2 weeks or even longer, until you book that appointment. And like I said, this cadence is fine. It has worked and it will continue to work. But then again, like I said, we are now in 2020, and there are things that we should probably consider and use in order to move forward and improve that sales cadence that we've been using. So before I proceed with those things, let me just um, oh, by the way, before that, no, I just want to make sure that everyone, in case there are people who are still hung up on thinking that the sales cadence is just for large companies or maybe big sales teams. Let's do away with that thinking. You could be a small sales team or a mid-sized business. The sales cadence is definitely something that you should be using. Why? Well, mainly two things. You want to make sure that you're not missing out on opportunities by letting some of those leads fall through because you're simply too busy attending to the other leads. So we are all human. We have only so much time in a working day, in a work day. So the cadence that is going to fill that gap and help you manage all those leads that you're trying to nurture. The second reason why you should use one is definitely to make sure that those leads, once you're in your CRM, that they're ushered on to the next stage in the sales process in a timely manner. You don't want to miss that opportunity that your lead is ready. Your prospect is ready to move on from considering his options to deciding, but because you're simply too busy attending to your other prospects that you neglect that prospect and you miss out on moving him to the decision phase in a very timely manner. So again, that's where your sales cadence can help. And why does the sales cadence work? Either it's whether you're a big team or you're just one person sales team. Basically, it's it's basic because it's, for one, it's very structured. Your frequency and the type of touch points you have, they're all there. You don't have to, because sometimes without the cadence and you just leave it to you say, you sort of wing it. What will happen is sometimes you probably end up following up on your prospect within like a day, or sometimes 2 days. There's no structure. It just depends on when you're available or when you're in a good mood. But with a cadence, there's structure for you, and you won't, like I said, you won't miss out on opportunities. And the second reason why it works is it's consistent. Whether you're a small team or a big team, you scale up, your sales team grows, so let's say from 3 people to 30 people, your approach remains consistent with a sales cadence. All right, so I think there's really not much convincing to do for us to use a sales cadence. So let's proceed to the elements of a sales cadence. These are the 5 things that we definitely have to pay attention to when we are coming up with our sales cadence. Okay, the first one is touch points, or some call them attempts. So this is basically the number of touches made in your sales cadence. Now, this will it depends really from business to business and on the type of target you're trying to reach. But for us here at Callbox, actually, we average around for our clients, we average around 6 to 7 touch points until we are able to book an appointment or reach that decision maker. The second element is the channel. Now, the most, as you saw in the first the cadence that I showed you earlier, most common are email, call, and social media. Oh, yeah, social media like LinkedIn. So for the channel, there are, now you have to consider that for if it were for bigger companies, if you're targeting bigger companies, you're probably gonna want to go a little less aggressive, and maybe start out with an email or a connection on social, and then follow up with the phone call. However, you do want to follow up with and be more aggressive and follow up with a phone call if it comes to when it comes to inbound leads, because these are these prospects, they're inbound, they're already very interested, they're the ones who reached out to you. So don't waste any time sending an email when you can get back to them right away with a phone call. All right. So the third one is content. Now the content, it's basically includes two things you wanna take note of. It's the messaging or the purpose of why you're reaching out, and that is whether you want to set a meeting or get your prospect to download something or invite him to an event you have schedules very soon. And then the content format. It could be a simple email, or maybe you're sharing a blog post or a white paper, or if the prospect is nearly like almost like in the decision phase, is already ready to probably purchase very soon, you'll probably move on to sending him a case study. So it really depends on which phase of the sales process the prospect is in. Your content format will depend on that. And of course, you will also consider the interval or the time between touch points. Like I said earlier, with sometimes if you just go with the flow and go with your mood, the interval could vary between prospects. You can, okay, maybe one time you will follow up after a day, the next time you'll follow up after 2 days. But with the sales cadence, you can set a definite time interval between touch points. Maybe after the email, one day after you have a phone call, and then after 2 days later another email. So it's very structured, and you won't miss out on an opportunity. And of course, the final one is the length. How you have to, you can't, of course, we can't, we hope that we'll be able to just, nurture all these prospects forever, but that is not advisable. There is such a thing as fatigue, I suppose. Some are, yeah, I mean, there is a time that you would want to probably take a break. So um, there is an optimal time for you to run a sales cadence, and based on our experience, that's anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks. And so it really depends on the industry and the type of decision maker you're trying to reach out to. But yeah, optimally that's 2 to 4 weeks. So these are the 5 things that you should take note of, and pay close attention to when you're coming up with your sales cadence. Now, what I would like to discuss next is, let's move on. These are the things that, for this webinar, I would like to focus on. We won't really focus on all elements, but mostly we will focus on the channels and the content that we are going to use, because these are the elements that are going to set you apart and really upgrade your sales cadence for 2020. Now, the commonly used channels and content are, like I said, for the channels, email, phone, and social. LinkedIn has been around since 2003, and if you're familiar with Sales Navigator, it was launched in 2014. So if you're using Sales Navigator, um, so you have had like 5 years to use it, and this is something that we definitely recommend um, for sales teams and marketing teams to use Sales Navigator. Now, for content, commonly used are blogs, if you white papers, video, and case studies. These are all things that we have on our own website, and they're very useful. The content, it's very important. If you don't have really, it's not enough that you just keep following up on your prospects and just asking them when they'll be interested. That's You have to be able to provide them something as you nurture them over the course of several weeks, to show them that you can provide value. And then that will, eh, slowly but surely, they will see the value that you're providing through the blogs you're sharing, your original content, or maybe a case study. If they're trying to decide, they'll see, oh, okay, you have had the the experience in that kind of campaign. And not, so as opposed to just simply asking every time we talk on the phone or on or in your email that, okay, so are you guys ready to make a decision. So definitely you have to provide something of value other than just simply the following up and asking the prospect if they're ready to buy. So now for to move us into 2020, we will be these are the things that we would like you to add and consider. These are things that we have also used ourselves or planning to use in 2020 for channels, especially for Singapore. Now we are definitely fans of WhatsApp. If you're not using WhatsApp yet for your cadence, you definitely should. How should you? We reach out to actually for us. We reach out to prospects through WhatsApp. What we do is when they come in through let's say a typical for contact form or they email us, and what we do is we reach out to them to we get back to them if we're not able to reach them through email right away. We try to reach them through WhatsApp. For if you're in China, we WeChat also works. And so for, going back to WhatsApp though, there is the regular WhatsApp app, and then there's the WhatsApp business app. All right, just so you're aware. And so you'd probably want to use WhatsApp business. It's more professional with you're able to build your business profile. There's this feature with quick replies. You can set a greeting message and away message. There's labels, search filter, and short links. So it's really made for a business to so take advantage of that. And also don't forget that there is WhatsApp web. WhatsApp web is basically you'll be able to use message your prospects through on your desktop or your laptop. Other than if your phone isn't available, you can have somebody man your desktop and just reach out to everyone through desktop or on the web. By the way, WhatsApp is available on Android only for now, I believe. So I think they're saying they're gonna develop something for um, uh, iOS later. But anyway, for now it's on Android. All right, so let's move on to events. Events now. We have had ourselves. We have had a very eventful, pardon the pun, but eventful year. Last year we have several events, and um, we through those events we were actually able to nurture our prospects because aside from we held several, I think a total of 4 events I believe in Singapore last year. I don't know if maybe some of you were able to attend or were invited. um, just so you know, we will be having more events this year, so if you want, you can join us. I hope you will be able to join us this year. Anyway, so for these events, what we do is you can make it a part of your sales cadence, so that aside from you have, for example, you have a prospect in your CRM, and then you have an upcoming event, then why not, be sure to invite that person or that prospect to your event and get the chance to speak to him in person, and also show him that through your event or through your presentation, be able to get the chance to show further what you have to offer. Especially in Singapore, I think it's very important. People in Singapore really like events. Going to events like the face-to-face time, and so if you're not doing a lot of events yet, be sure to consider that for 2020. And lastly, for channels, you also might want to consider direct mail. Now, it's some people say, oh well, why spend on direct mail when there's email? It's cheaper, but there's still something to be said about holding like a brochure or a folder or something that you can actually hold in your hand and bring with you wherever. It also signifies, that you're not you don't mind spending a little, if it's to set yourself apart and grab your prospect's attention we did this ourselves. Like I said, we did this ourselves last year, and um, what we actually did was we made it a part of our cadence in such a way that we had an event, and for those who weren't able to attend our event, we actually sent them direct mail, and we had responses, and so it can work. Really, it really can work if you do it properly, and you don't necessarily have to go out and send a cold, like a cold direct mail. Don't probably choose, since it can be quite expensive compared to, of course, online, something online or just email. You probably want to choose a targeted list of prospects who have you maybe have talked to before but aren't really moving further in the sales process yet. Then maybe they can be moved by direct mail. All right, so these are the channels that you can add to your sales cadence for this year. Now, going to content, for aside from, you see there, we added video, email, and AMP for Gmail. Now, what is the difference? I'm sure you can see that there is video up there, and also there's video email. Now, what is the difference? You're probably thinking. Now, video email is basically a personalized video for your prospect. So it's like you're sending a very personalized email, customized email, but with a video in it, in video format. I just want to share that. Um, in a study by HiQ, it was found that adding the word video to the subject line boosted open rates by 19%. Especially now, I mean, I think the buzz around video marketing has been around really for the last 2 years. We've attended all these marketing conferences and trade shows, and every year it just keeps getting louder and louder. And really, video is definitely here to stay, and it's video marketing is just improving year by year. So if you're not yet in it, you should definitely study it and make sure it's part of your marketing. Um, so this is also what I want to share. This is something that I found out, that because as you know, we are already we are HubSpot agency partner. And funny enough, the person that we talked to, that helped us become a HubSpot partner, or was one of those instrumental to us becoming a Callbox, becoming a HubSpot partner, was Nick Saltzman. Now, he was actually, um, he's an account executive who works with HubSpot, and at some point in the past, he knew that he needed to differentiate himself to prospects. Because he knows already from being a very experienced sales executive that people get tired of receiving the typical email. And what he did was he tried video prospecting. No, so what he did, Nick sent 191 email videos in a month, okay, which led to 50 opportunities. That's a 27% conversion rate. What he did was, now you might be thinking, well, that's a lot of videos. Do I really have time to do that? I mean, well, it took him 3 to 4 minutes per prospect, depending on how deeply he wanted to personalize the video. But if you think about it, that's the number of those minutes. It's basically the same amount of minutes you'll be putting into a phone call or the traditional email. So why not up your game and make a personalized video instead? So that really worked for him, and like I said, it gave him 50 sales opportunities, 50 leads within a month, out of those 191 email videos. All right. So, oh, okay. By the way, all right. So, um, yeah. Yeah. For example, this is a sample of maybe a video email. You can include, like I said, including the word video in the subject line. It definitely boosts your open rates, and showing a human face on the thumbnail of your video, is also very helpful. And also, what you want to do is you're probably thinking, okay, so are you saying they'll play the video in the email? Well, although that is possible, embedding a video in your email, it is still widely advised by the video marketing experts to link. Just put a thumbnail in your email and link that thumbnail to the landing page on your website, because there, although like I said, although it is possible to embed the video, sometimes it's depends on like where they're viewing your email, on mobile or on your desktop or laptop. The playback might have problems, so it's better to be safe just to put the thumbnail and then link it to a landing page on your website. Also, you want to stick to one click to call to action. uh, don't confuse, always, don't confuse the prospect. You can put there, watch the video to learn more. That's it, just keep it simple. All right. And the types of video you can, okay, you're thinking, okay, well, what can I do, what kind of video should I send? There's different things. You can try video voicemail. Yeah, like instead of a voicemail, you can just really video yourself for a few seconds. Like, yeah, again, keep it short. Just like with email, there your prospect doesn't have that much time, so don't send a lengthy video. Keep it short. And then you can also do a quick demo of a product via video. You can, some people even send a sales proposal video. Also, after their they also send, like after the sale, they send a post sale or a welcome video or a kickoff video, something like that. So there are different so many opportunities. Even also there are one thing that also very, by the way, worked for us is sending a case study in video format. um, we do that on our website, and it definitely boosted our conversion rates for our case studies. So in fact, we are working to convert all case studies to video, as it really just works so much better for a person, I mean a prospect would rather watch than read, I suppose. So that's it for video email. So these are, I hope you consider using video in your email marketing for 2020. The other one, um, for content, is something that is very recent. This is actually launched just in 2019, early 2019, the AMP for Gmail. AMP for, by the way, just, yeah, I'm just gonna go this over this quickly. This one, what you see right now is a sample of our direct mailer um, that we used in our cadence. So as you can see, it's a trifold brochure, and then what we do is, so we make sure that we connect it to another channel. Is aside from providing a phone number, we also provided a page they can go to, and so they can go to that page and then inquire through that page, use the promo code. So you can, as you see, you can always always consider to connecting your channels and your cadence. They don't have to work separately from each other. All right, so going back to AMP for Gmail. AMP for Gmail is basically interactive email. So I think this has long been, desired. I mean, a lot of marketers have always, I for one, would have always wanted to see, um, interactive email. So so basically, what we're talking about is, um, you don't have to get out of the email anymore. You don't have to open a browser or a web page to transact. So in this case, so you if you can get rid of one more step for your prospect, that's always a plus, right? So And for Gmail, it's still quite young. Honestly, I've considered it in its infancy right now, and but it's hopefully it um, progresses to a bigger and better tool for us marketers. What you can do is you can like in this example here, you can insert an image carousel, and they can browse the images of your product within the email itself. You can RSVP to an event or fill out a form. For example, like here, you can book a stay. There's an actually booking form and within the email, so you get rid of having to send that prospect to a website. Right there, it's very, while you already have the prospect's attention, why not try to convert him right there and then? So that's very promising. But like I said, it's still very young. AMP for Gmail's list of partners is still is still quite small as of the moment. But I advise you to keep keep tabs on it and see how you can make it work for your sales cadence in 2020. All right. So now that we have explored a few of those channels and content that we can add to our lineup in 2020, um, definitely what I'll be showing you right now is just a couple of samples of our cadences that we actually use. Now we've categorized these into two. So basically, you have the sales cadence for new sales and repeat business. So, but of course, with repeat business, I mean, with new sales, everything is like as its name suggests, everything is new. So you have to ease your way into introducing your product. Whereas to with repeat business, it's a different approach because okay, your client already knows you. You've been working together for some time now. Your concern now is how to get him to renew or maybe upsell or cross sell a product with that client. So without further ado, let's proceed to the sales cadence for new sales. So here is like I said, it can be anywhere between um maybe 6 7 or even more. This is just something that we expanded just to show you some the different channels and content that you can use for your sales cadence. All right, so we start with an intro email. Okay, so always keep in mind to keep it short, please. I mean, I myself, I have been on the receiving end of these intro emails, and once I see something that is like 3 or 5 paragraphs long, I'm already put off by that. So be sure to be able to relay your intent and uh, maybe present your value proposition really in a very just a few sentences, really, just to catch the attention of your prospect. Then you can do maybe d- uh, make it a bit longer email and do a refresher with a follow-up email. All right, so and then after that you can do the phone follow-up. Always reference your email. You can do that phone follow-up maybe a day or two after your email. And then social, so you want to use you it's impossible nowadays to not include social or LinkedIn in your sales cadence. So always find out if your prospect is on LinkedIn and be sure to invite your prospect. And as I discussed earlier, you probably want to reach out to that person on WhatsApp as well. Now for just so you know, for WhatsApp, like I said, we use WhatsApp ourselves to reach out to our prospects. For example, they inquired with us. It's an inbound lead, and what we need to do next is, of course, secure an appointment with that person. Um, I'd say out of 10 people that inquire with us, we are able to reach out and get hold of at least 3 to 4 people. So that is quite a high conversion rate on WhatsApp, because right away, and it's just a matter of minutes even, compared to, let's say, if they inquired with us and then we try to get back to them via email. It could take us probably as long as one day to get a reply, and that is if we're lucky enough that our email did not go into their junk folder. But with WhatsApp, um, as soon as we get their inquiry, we what we do is we of course, if the it's best it's great if that person provided the mobile number or the cell number. But if not, we go on LinkedIn and see if there's a mobile number for that person, and then get hold of him right away through WhatsApp. And really, it's just a matter of minutes. So imagine that, a matter of minutes or within the hour, as opposed to waiting for a day to get hold of that person. So WhatsApp is definitely very valuable in our sales cadence, right? So once you're connected on LinkedIn or on any other social media platform, you can then message or email or DM that person, and just to make sure, like I said, I mentioned that sometimes the email goes to the spam folder. So there's you're more likely to get your email delivered or your private message delivered on social media. After that, you may want to consider sharing a blog post and tagging the prospect, or sharing the post itself with the prospect, sending that to him, or a video email, which I mentioned earlier. Also, an option is to invite, if you have an event, invite them to an event, and maybe send another email or send a direct mail. So these are, you don't have to do all of these. Um, Depends on what's available on your marketing calendar, and probably that one can be a commodity, allowed by your budget. And then, of course, you can do the phone follow up. You should do the phone follow up, I should say. Reference your previous email or your direct mail or your event or whatever it was that you sent him. Always reference that. And of course, finally, you can phone or email to book a meeting. Booking a meeting, by the way, make sure that you are using a calendar tool or a scheduling tool on your email. This If you have a calendar tool or a booking tool in your email, that is one less step or one less email, of going back and forth just to schedule a meeting. So give your prospect that option to book a meeting himself when he's available. Right. So, and then finally you book that appointment. Right. So that is a typical sales cadence for new sales for 2020, incorporating all these other channels and content that I discussed earlier. Now, for repeat business, okay, so for repeat business, what you we can start out, of course, we always start out with an email. Like I said, with repeat business, you already have worked with that client, with that prospect, and what you want to do is, especially, of course, if it was a good campaign, you want to congratulate the prospect on the campaign. Always get feedback. Don't be afraid to get feedback, and definitely don't be afraid to probably not get positive feedback all the time. Always take it as an opportunity to improve your service. And yeah, and always make the prospect feel that you are open to all, to this feedback and suggestions. All right. So after that, you may want to follow up with an email with, gauge your plans and share additional insights. This time, you give your feedback. I'm sure, as the one who conducted the campaign for your client, you have your own suggestions. So that always, as a client, that would make, the client would feel that you are definitely concerned, and um, you treat his campaign as your own. So you make sure that you have all these suggestions and insights into how to improve his campaign, should he renew. and of course phone call. And it's not very much, not very different from a new sales cadence, only that of course you're always referencing the previous campaign and highlighting. You want to highlight the positives and make sure to note the negatives, and suggest and make sure that you have ready suggestions on how to improve those. Okay, so you want to share any news and updates. If an event, invite them to the event, and then email, let them know if you have anything new or an upgrade or a promo. Okay, and then a phone call, and then eventually, yeah. So like I said, it's not very different, as long as you always make sure that you very show the client that you're concerned, and you have improvements planned for the next round or the next campaign. And so you do that until you close the deal. So that's basically what we have for you this afternoon. I hope that you have learned something new, and that gets you excited for this 2020. So for now, I think we're going to open the floor to your questions. I'll give it back to Rebecca.
Thank you, Charmaine. I think everyone have a lot of things that they have learned from the presentation. I myself are actually thinking of a few things that I should start myself. Definitely the insights about the video and WhatsApp and WeChat for the Asia Pacific market is quite good for us to get started. Okay, so I have about 15 questions on my list. I'll go through a few of them that I think would be um, quite interesting for everyone to hear. And then for the rest, we'll just communicate with you personally. And definitely after this, we'll send you a recording of the whole webinar. So we'll start. There's one question here. It's from your by the way, the panel that we have includes our VP of Operations, Sir Jaime Garcia, and also our Client Services Manager, Mitos. So I'll go ahead ask the questions. The first one I have is from your experience in running different campaigns, how many touches does it usually take before a prospect agree to a meeting? Maybe Jaime, you can take that question.
Sure thing. That's a great question. Typically, what I see is we can get a conversion in about 7 to 12 touch points. It really depends a lot on how we're going about the engagement and which channel these are coming from. Actually, some of the geographic footprint of the size of the territory that we're targeting can also come into play as well. But I would say that would be pretty typical, somewhere in that 7 to 12 touch point range.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that. Second question I have here on the list is in automating your cadence, how do you make it work or what software are you using?
Yeah. Hi everyone, meet this here. So I'm the client services manager. For automating your cadence, usually you need to how to make it work. First, you have to create a schema or workflow. Then you need to create a customized content, which includes email and social media content. And then you need to use a software. So you can use any type of software which has already a CRM or marketing automation tool. But for Callbox, what we're using is HubSpot.
To add to that, actually, our clients use several CRMs, and the ones that are very common that are being used is the first one is Salesforce. I think for everyone, Salesforce has been very useful to automating a lot of email activities, such as storing templates, snippets, personalizing even the business name and the industry and so on. HubSpot is what we like and what we employ at the moment. It's really a lot of it is because we can connect it to our videos and case studies and other materials that we have on our website. So that gives us a full view of who views it on real time and also who downloads it in real time, and we shoot that to our sales reps. So yeah, a lot of those things automated that are available, a lot of them are free. So HubSpot has a lot of tools that are connected to it that makes our lives as sales reps much easier. Okay, I'll jump into another question out here. Can Callbox support with getting market transparency for certain business segments?
Sure. Typically, what you're going to see is the transparency will be many times our niche is a lot of IT and software as a service, and those
Hmm.
types of industries will see good transparency.
That's right. And also, we can definitely incorporate questions that you would like us to ask over the phone and over email. And we use this, we actually use meta tags into our system so that we can filter those prospects who have answered, say, a particular, if one of the questions that you would like to see is what particular ERP are they using. So we use meta tags to 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 tag a certain prospect who's using, let's say, Eloqua or Salesforce or HubSpot, and then we can pass that along to our clients. And definitely, we use this information to further ask more questions that are more relevant to them. Another question posted here is, where can Callbox step in to help? I guess this question is geared towards, okay, that we are now creating sales cadence for our sales reps or probably the marketing people. Where can Callbox help out in particular? Who would like to answer that question? Jaime or Mitas?
Sure. We can start out all the way from putting together your campaign from the get-go. So as we start to help you out with building any content, we can tap into your content and take that and get it ready to deploy into the different channels. We can start with building your database. We have a great database in Asia Pacific, especially Singapore and NZ. So we can also get involved with developing your scripts. We can start doing creating landing pages. We can start incorporating chat into your website and into the landing page that we create for you. So it just keeps going all the way along, and then we can start deploying technology to give you reporting as we're starting the actual first email blast. And so it's all the email content that goes out, starting with the initial emails and the follow-up emails and different touches that Charmaine talked about during the presentation. So all the way through, and then we once we start with the call outs, you're going to have full transparency in the reporting side and actually real-time uh, viewing of the call stream that's going out through our pipeline CRM and also through HubSpot. So uh, and then we can actually pass those leads on to you uh, straight into your CRM, or you can use the HubSpot. If you don't have a CRM yet, we can set you up with that. Hope that answers your question. If you need anything else more specific, Queck, maybe you
And
want
also,
to
yeah,
append to
also
that.
to add, yeah, also to add, what we can do differently is we can create contents that are persona based or industry based. So we're doing it right now to some of our clients. How we do it is we are very much involved in content management. So we work with persona based content and industry based content, not just through email but social media as well. And also, we get insights from your current collaterals. So, Charmaine mentioned that there are blog spots, case studies. How we do it is we work together with the clients on identifying which are good content from your website and from your other sources.
Okay, thank you so much, Mitas. I received your comments, and definitely those who have raised their hand to be called after this webinar will definitely give you a call as soon as the end of the webinar. You can chat us when is a good time for us to call you or connect with you. Okay, another question that I have here. We have last, I think, 7 minutes to go. How long do you attempt to contact prospects before giving up?
Giving up is not part of our cadence, as you know, we're callbacks. Yeah, usually, ideally, we try 7 attempts before we give up, but we don't usually give up. We look for other contacts. So, for example, we base it per contact. So, example, contact A, after 7 attempts or 10 attempts is not responsive, then we'll look for other contacts. We profile other contacts in the company, and we start with other stakeholders. So probably the 6 stakeholders will be more receptive than the ones in our list. So the answer is at least 7 attempts, but we don't give up. We look for other contacts.
Okay, sounds great. And then I'll choose one last question from the audience. Here, there's one good question. Based on your experience, what is the top two most effective channel for lead generation?
Based from our experience and last year's experience, the top two is LinkedIn for social and calling. So they say that cold calling is dead, but based from experience, it's still a good channel to use, but it has to be paired up with social media or email. So LinkedIn from last year, together with Sales Navigator, it has been a very successful channel. We're able to convert like 30% of the leads from client services or from LinkedIn. I think from marketing, it's different. I think it has more than like 70% is from LinkedIn or social media than voice. The second channel will be voice or direct call.
Okay, thank you,
And if
Mitos.
you want, yeah,
Go
and I
ahead.
could probably chime in there a little bit. I also find that although the volume of engagement isn't quite as much, the leads that we get from or through chat are probably some of the warmest that our clients feel. So when we do get a lead through chat, those are very, very warm leads that we're passing along to our clients.
Okay, and then I think this one is something that I would also want to bring in our last final question. Um, it just came in. So your messaging is important to reaching out to your customers. What kind of messaging or how do you usually craft a good message? I
Well,
think the question is more like what is a good introduction?
just what Charmaine mentioned, a good introduction should be brief and concise. For the subject, it has to be consistent and aligned with the content. So sometimes we would receive like the subject line is vague and then the content is different. So it won't work. What works is a simple subject line and then the content should be aligned with the subject line and it should be persona focused. Unlike before, you're sending mass mails, right? There's no, you can't really hit the need or specific interest of the prospect. But what works differently is you customize it according to your persona. Let's say if you would send an email to a CEO, the subject and the content should be aligned to what a CEO would be thinking or feeling. So it should be customized based on persona.
Okay. All right. The rest of the questions out here definitely will give you each a phone call and an email to set up a either a phone call or maybe we can even meet with you if you are in Singapore. So thank you very much for everyone who have participated in this webinar, and we look forward to talking to you over the phone. Have a good afternoon, and thanks for the panelists too. Thanks, Mitos, Charmaine, and Jaime.
Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you, everyone. Thank you
Thanks,
for
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
attending. Talk to you soon.